Harvard, Princeton, some of the other Ivy League schools routinely top the list of the wealthiest endowment funds, but that could change if former President Trump and his running mate, JD Vance, win the election in November. Robert Frank joins us now with more. Hey, Robert.
Good morning, Joe. Good to see you. Well, one of JD Vance's signature bills in the Senate was a plan to tax university endowments. He called for raising the investment tax from endowments over $10 billion from 1.4% to 35%. Senate Democrats knocked it down in the end, but he and other Republicans in the House and Senate continue to support the plan. Vance says that universities like Harvard, Princeton, Emory, Duke, even Vanderbilt, and others need to be more accountable. He said their endowments have grown on the backs of taxpayers and are actually, quote, hedge funds with universities attached. Now, this tax would apply right now to about a dozen or more universities. Harvard's endowments around $50 billion right now. Yale at 41, Stanford, Princeton, both around $35 billion. Now, the universities say their endowments help low-income students, like Vance, who received a full ride from Yale during his first year. Universities say it would hurt philanthropy since donors would also be less inclined to give. Now, it's unclear how much revenue this tax would raise. The 2017 tax changes included a new tax on endowments of over $500,000 per student. So that's about 50 schools right now. That tax has raised less than a third of its expected revenue. So there's not a big revenue component here. I think it's perhaps more symbolic and also a gesture toward the increasing anxiety around the size of these endowments and just how much is going toward low-income students.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't like taxes. I don't like trying not. And this is just, it's de minimis, the amount of money we're talking. It's just like it's as bad as when Democrats talk about fairness. So this is a fairness. It's not. The one thing I would say is I'm pissed off. I mean, I'm angry.
What are you?
I'm angry.
You're frustrated.
I'm angry at a lot of the universities for what we saw over the past year. I'm angry, and I'd like to tax them into oblivion. But I don't think it's the right. I don't think it's the right thing to do. It's just as bad as what.
That's the impulse from which this came. Is
right.
A lot of the, especially
they deserve it.
The university.
And what are they doing? They really low income? How you got $50 billion left then? Let's really do a job in getting people in. Why? Why are you laughing? They are so wealthy.
The question, though, is
they are so wealthy.
If you want to put pressure on universities, is this the path?
Right.
Is it on Pell Grants?
Maybe.
Is it on?
But it's money. It's some way.
It is economic.
Money. Yeah, it's some way.
It is economic, but maybe I mean.
What do you think?
I would love to figure out a way to force universities to have cost controls. This could be a way to do that in some ways, but I think the real way is going to be on, all sorts of, unfortunately, on tuition because of scholarships and other things, that if you could actually put a sort of ceiling on these things, it would force the universities to actually have some budget.
Cost controls, or to Joe's point, make them say, look, at least half of your endowment spending of the year has to go to low-income financial aid. If you look at these big schools, less than a third of their spending from the endowment goes to low-income students. The rest goes to research, to buildings, to staff, et cetera. So if that's the reason you want to preserve it and keep it from being taxed, then there should be a test. Say, you got to spend X.
We need a panel on this.
And we are going to go do that. And Robert's sticking around. Don't go anywhere, sir. Natasha Sarin, former Treasury Department official, now with Yale Law School and Yale Law School's School of Management. Also, William Trachman, former Trump Education Department appointee and now a general counsel for Mountain States Legal Foundation. Good morning to both of you. You heard Robert. Natasha, I'll start with you. What do you think? Unfair to do it this way? I'm thinking that's what you're going to say.
Well, Andrew, Robert made a lot of incredibly good points, so I'll kind of reiterate them. This tax proposal isn't about raising revenue. It's not going to raise much of anything at all. So it's not about addressing very significant problems we have with respect to a debt-to-GDP ratio that's going to rise to above 130 over the decade. This tax proposal is not about making college more accessible and affordable, which are worthy aims, but this would actually do the exact opposite of that by making universities less inclined and have less resources to be able to invest in educating future generations. What this tax proposal is about, and JD Vance has been super explicit, is it is about the fact that he views universities as the enemy and thinks that they're hostile to his vision of the world and wants to find a tool to exert political pressure on them and thinks this is a good one. And I mean, I'm biased. I sit at one of these universities. I but I'm very firmly of the view that American universities are kind of the envy of the world because of the training that they're able to provide many of the workers that work for people who are watching this show. And that's something that we should seek to preserve, not something that we should seek to attack.
William, this is an attack. That's what it is, right? Or you think there's something else going on here?
Well, this goes back to a 1983 Supreme Court case about Bob Jones University, where in an 8-1 decision, the court said that it's okay for the federal government to strip that school of its tax-exempt status because the school didn't allow interracial dating or interracial marriage. And so this is just another example of how the federal government can prioritize how it doles out tax benefits. These universities have extraordinarily favorable tax treatment, much lower than you or me or your average hedge fund. And that's generally because we think of them as places where learning occurs, where we want to encourage resources and our tax dollars to go. But that's no longer the case, as we saw with the sleepover controversies that have been happening in the last few months, the rampant anti-Semitism, the other civil rights violations that the Supreme Court has found in affirmative action. These are no longer places where we ought to give favorable tax treatment. So I'm here, I'm a Berkeley grad, but I think that this is a proposal that is responsive to some of the most recent things we've seen with universities in America.
William, another tax benefit that universities have come under fire for is their property tax. If you look at here in New York, NYU receives the equivalent of about $180 million in tax benefits because they have all these buildings that they can build and they don't pay taxes. Sorry, that's Columbia. NYU has 140. Harvard's like $170 million. Do you think that there should, when looking at the tax benefits that these very wealthy universities have, do you think they should also be taxed on property?
Well, the question is, why give them favorable treatment? What is it about them as an institution that would garner them differential treatment in a positive way as opposed to you or me or the average business down the street? And the question is the university providing a service or some other benefit to the community that those other institutions aren't doing? And I think the proof in the last few months is they aren't. In fact, they're a negative.